Welcome to Tourism Talk. I'm your host, Mary Hammond, Director of the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau. Today, my guest joining me is my co-worker, Laura Schomburg. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Mary. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yes, it's excited for us to share with Paducah the story of UNESCO and the Creative Cities Network.
Absolutely. And today I get to turn the tables on you a little bit and I'll ask you some questions.
Yes, I love that. I think that will be nice. But before we get started, share with us a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Sure. I'm the marketing director, so I have gotten to be a great part of telling Paducah's story over the past few years with you at the Bureau, and recently have been very involved in the UNESCO project and since Paducah's designation. So we're really excited about that, I know.
It's great. Laura started our office when she was in college, working with Rosemarie Steele as a marketing intern. Rosemarie was the author, that's the word I'm looking for, the author of the final application to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network.
Yes.
UNESCO, I always have to stumble over this, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
Yes.
This Creative Cities Network has been around since 2004. There are now 41 members.
That's right, 41 all over the world.
With Paducah being the third, just admitted this winter. So we join, it's a pretty exciting group. Santa Fe for art and craft, and Iowa City for literature.
That's right.
The third U.S. city. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're very proud of that designation, and I think who better to tell some of the story and the background on it than you, who has seen tourism and creativity grow in Paducah over the past many years.
Oh, so thank you for not getting too detailed, Laura. It has changed. Paducah was always an easy sell for us. The authenticity of our community, the architecture, the preservation, the all-American feel of this river city. But we've evolved into a cultural destination. I think we saw the beginnings of it with many years ago with the Yeiser Art Center, the Market House Theater, growing to the American Quilter Society, and these were public-private partnerships that helped our city grow a community, a creative community. And when we say creative community, you say, oh, that's just artists. It's not. It's all of those jobs, and if you look around our community, the types of creative jobs that we have here, from engineers and scientists and people who work with their hands, builders, all types of creative people here.
Yes.
So they're investing in the community, and then about 10 to 12 years ago, saw the city trying to revitalize Lower Town, attracting artists to move here with a relocation program. And you saw the people with the vision with the Carson Center to build a performing arts center. And my goodness, how much changed in Paducah in putting us on a map as a cultural destination.
Right, and one thing that really set us apart, we received the National Trust for Historic Preservation's dozen distinctive destinations.
Yes, it really, I thought, it gave us some confidence in ourselves when you saw the things that dozen distinctive destinations were looking for in communities. And I think it's important for us to say over and over again, we're not saying we're the best or the brightest or the biggest, but we have good roots and people who work together to grow what we offer. And there comes a time when it's more than just quality of life. It's bringing people to enjoy those amenities, those attractions that you have, but they also bring with them new money, fresh money to grow our economy.
Absolutely. That's a good lead-in to maybe talk about how the Visitors Bureau became involved in seeking UNESCO and the Creative Cities designation.
We heard about the very first Creative Cities Summit being held in Santa Fe. I guess that's probably been 6 years ago. We sent Rosemarie Actually, there were a couple of representatives from PRA. Our marketing consultant went with us to see what was happening there, how you were taking this artistic, creative culture that had evolved in Santa Fe and other cities, people who came from cities from around the world, more so than the United States, and how were they taking what they had invested in and to another level of adding to our economy, having creative experiences so that people weren't just coming to your community and going, oh, that's pretty, that's nice. I always remember a friend saying they took the kind of vacation where they got in the car and they got out and they went like this and they looked all three directions and got back in the car and kept going. We're way beyond that. The experiential, putting your hands on, I think you've tried it in Lower Town.
Yes, I have. The notion of creative tourism where you can actually be a part of that culture and really the destination experience.
As Americans, we like the bragging rights.
Yes.
What we experience that our friends haven't, and we want them to do it so we can all talk about it.
Absolutely.
And that happens here. But it probably really got our attention with the quilt show when 5,000 people take classes. Now we know you get about 30 to 40,000 visitors, and they're all over Paducah shopping and eating and looking at the quilts, but there are 5,000 classes.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Here to learn.
Here to learn.
And grow. And that's
learn
such an
from the best.
Yes,
learn
absolutely.
from the best.
The masters.
The masters who have relocated here.
Yes.
The talent that we have here, and not just in quilting, but in the fiber arts and the other artistic endeavors that inspire one another, has really taken off in our community.
Yeah.
The artist relocation program was just a tool to entice people to move here, and they did, and they've really invested in our community.
Yeah, and I think that is such a testament to some of the cultural assets that we have here in Paducah that maybe we as locals don't recognize all the time, but some of these things that really qualified us to be a city of crafts and folk art in this network.
Some of the things that we take for granted, and yes, our application is built on quilting because it's got probably the deepest and most far-reaching roots that we have here in town. And but you can't be a creative culture without all of the other entities being a part of it. One of the things that we have is a long-lasting tradition in quilting. Now, that's not to say, like I said, this is just the roots of our application. The long-lasting tradition, it goes back. Quilting it was always just something to keep you warm, but how much it is evolved into an art.
Right.
I love it when just this past year, when the Egyptian tent makers were at the quilt show, and it was more than just a tent that these Egyptians had on the desert. They they were bored out there, embellish them and applique and embroider on it. It's not quilted, but it is fiber art.
They created their own technique.
They did. And that same thing happened with people. As they were going west and they stopped here, they brought their own personal techniques and styles and patterns. And as they came through Paducah, because we've always been a pass-through, not just with the rivers and the interstates, the railroad, people came through, but they left their mark here.
Yes.
Kentucky was the first to have a registry of the old quilts, where you brought a quilt that's been in your family, you didn't know how old it was, and they would look at the fabrics and be able to date it for you, tell you if this was a traditional pattern, maybe where that pattern started, or was this a new pattern that they'd never seen before. And families have actually been reunited because of a pattern that went from the East Coast to the West Coast, and they met in Paducah. That was pretty exciting.
So neat, and it is that heritage and the stories that go along with it that kind of shape the future. And I think that in working with UNESCO and learning about these other cities that Paducah is now among and in good company with, we see that tradition, but then also a look to the future with vision, like you said.
Well, as the American Quilter Societies and the National Quilt Museum are celebrating today's quilters.
Right.
Now they also honor the past, and then they take the old quilts and use them to influence new designs.
Yes.
But they're looking towards the future, but learning from the past, which we're very fortunate to have production happening right here in Paducah with the American Quilter Society, and there are thousands of members around the globe, to collector books and publishing the books about quilting, to the National Quilt Museum of the United States, given that designation by the Congress in Washington, D.C. Just keeps growing the production, bringing Carol Fowler moved here, one of the top 20 quilters in the world. Eleanor Burns, who has had a TV show for 30 plus years and 25 top-selling quilt books. I mean, her only other office is in California, and here she is in Paducah.
Worldwide, quilters know Paducah, and we hear it on a daily basis.
Yes.
The quilters telling us that Paducah is on their bucket list.
Yes, the bucket list. Who would have thought?
Yes.
I know that there have been people who are like, quilting. But yes, we have become a mecca for quilting, to come here to see the best, to learn from the best, and to be inspired, or as our favorite tagline,
restore your creative spirit.
I love that.
We do love that. And celebrate quilting, we do.
Yes, we do, definitely. There is a strong presence of other craft makers here in town. Gosh, I was just in the mayor's office, who every month is changing her exhibit. And it's not, artists is more than a paintbrush or a pencil or any, and as we are a city of craft and folk art, worldwide that's looked at as anything you're doing with your hands. And this is so all-encompassing in Paducah's product. We do have a strong presence. We've got training centers. We promote crafts and folk art through festivals. Oh my goodness, do we ever, with the Quilt Show and the Lower Town Art and Music Festival.
Absolutely. River's Edge Film Festival. So quilting really, has gotten us this international recognition, but then, like you said, these other assets take us to another level, and especially for visitors and here, us locals, we have such great things to enjoy.
I think Mary Yeiser would be surprised today at what's happening at the Yeiser Art Center with their international photo exhibit. So surprising to see entries, now with computers and be able to send your images. It's so much easier with their fantastic fibers, and you have some wonderful numbers on that.
Yes, 800 entries from 12 countries this year. So that is truly amazing and growing every year.
And the River's Edge Film Festival, very international.
Absolutely.
And so, but it's even more so when you look at the other creative cities, and there are many different types of creative cities, different categories. Oh, I've got to put my hands on it. Let's see, gastronomy, filmmaking, design, music, media arts. But the only one with any type of art is the folk art and craft.
It was most relevant
to us, yes. Although we have assets in all of those areas, but it's been so much fun to receive correspondence from the different cities.
It has.
And Laura's been getting them through her email. At first came the congratulations from every continent.
Absolutely, it was so neat.
Well, not Antarctica,
but all but Antarctica. So that was wonderful to receive such a warm welcome for Paducah and see these cities that we know as, having hosted the Olympics or huge cities worldwide, and recognizing Paducah, our city, as a creative cluster right here in the United States.
One thing I love about being having a creative cluster of people, as you were just saying, is that it's hard in any community to keep young people once they graduate from high school and go away, and you want them to come back here to continue to grow a good community. And that's been a hard thing. We've lost young people here in Paducah, but I think that more people are seeing that Paducah's a pretty cool place. My own brother, who's in North Carolina, I've always said we lost him to North Carolina, and he came back and he said, this is pretty cool what's happening here, and it feels good. I love it that just a few weeks ago, being able to go see the Paducah Symphony, come here to the college to see folk music, to see the Hunts, and to see a group from Italy down at the Maiden Alley Cinema. Tell us about that story.
Joy Cut is a band from Bologna, Italy. which is a city of music. So that shows how, crafts and folk art was our entry point into this network, but we have access to these people that are masters in all of the areas. So Bologna reached out to us, the mayor's office, and said their band was coming on to the United States for South by Southwest, a music festival in Austin, and wanted them to play other creative cities. So we connected them with Maiden Alley, and they had a wonderful music at Mac event, and there was a great crowd, and I thought it was so well received, and just a great testament to what this network is about, and people here being able to enjoy the fruits of this.
I think MTV said it was one of the groups to watch at South by Southwest.
Top 10.
Top 10. That was pretty exciting. Now let's see how I would describe that. Pink Floyd, trouble music, and techno.
Yes, it was something that we hadn't had here before.
And I looked around and it was all ages attending because it's talented, precision, performance artists.
Yeah,
which was really good.
And Paducah really does have that art-friendly culture. I mean, I think we've grown to expect those opportunities to grow and experience new creativity.
I think it's even evident in our music scene, which even KET has been down to cover, that we've always had good music here, but we're having our own identity with that. And any weekend downtown, you can really see the different types of music. And the roots, our roots come through, our river roots. Even seeing some of the songs from Miss Mary Wheeler, who was a song catcher who was from Paducah, caught up and recorded the songs by hand of the roustabouts on the river. And those were incorporated into music and that we love to listen to. But we're playing the ball forward, and the mayor's office is writing to Dublin, Dublin, Ireland, to share one of our own musicians who actually did the music for our videos and commercials, the J.D. Wilkes and the Dirt Daubers, and they're playing in Dublin. They actually travel the world, and we're making that connection for them with another creative city.
Yes, those artist exchanges between these cities I think will be a really exciting thing to watch. JD has always been an ambassador for us here in Paducah as he's traveled internationally and taken our Paducah pins and shared the Paducah story with the world. But now we have a new platform to do that.
We do, and this is our identity as a community, and culture helps us in so many ways. I had a really good quote. Let's see. Culture gives charter to people and shapes the nature of a community. The values of the people, their attitudes and goals have led to the formation of culture. Culture is the oxygen of cities, and it has definitely brought fresh oxygen to our community. And a fresh outlook. I think that we are less silos of people in our community, that the neighborhoods are closer. And for the first time, for me, when you go places, there's such a combination. It seems like no matter where, it's all ages and all types of people. It's not just where you look around and everybody looks just like you. And we're so much more diverse than we ever were.
And that's such an example of what UNESCO is all about. They say that UNESCO actually exists to connect nations and increase cultural diversity worldwide and connection. And so we see that right here in our own community. But I think that worldwide we'll see how connecting with other cultures can enhance our lives even more.
The investments that seem to be made through economic development, so many of them are international, so many of them are huge corporations that are looking for, as the college does, they're looking for people who are educated, who can fill those jobs, people who are well-rounded, creative, to solve problems and look how to make a better world. You must be creative. And we hope that our community is one that will inspire people in that way and will help with economic development. I think this designation will get the attention of people. If anyone has an opportunity to look on the Economic Development website, I think you'd see that they're in several languages. With the help of our friend Basil, they've translated their message into, so that right there tells you that we're not just American-based here,
Right.
that people are coming here looking at us from around the globe, not just for the arts.
Right, right. It spills out into the rest of the community. Really, UNESCO talks so much about sustainability, and
Yes.
creativity is a driver for that sort of development, socially, culturally, economically. So I think there are more opportunities to be had in that area.
When we talk about sustainability, I think we're all so used to thinking, oh, is it green? But it's sustainability is so much deeper than that. It's
Right.
be able to move to the future and be able to have, to know that what you're doing will still be around, that it's not something
Right.
that will come and go.
Mhm.
If you want to make your mark on a community and to grow, you must be able to sustain. We hope that these crafters, these artisans that are in our community, that their work will still be around. We hope, as we see Phil Phillips and his leather works,
Yes.
doing recreations of leather from the past.
Right.
Been in many of the movies.
Yes, yes, he has such great film credits.
Yes, he does. He
He's-
really does.
He's creating right here in Paducah.
He does. And our infrastructure, luckily to the city, with their looking ahead with Lower Town and looking what does it take to bring these artists to Paducah. It is just like economic development,
Right.
providing the infrastructure so that new businesses, albeit small businesses, are moving here.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
How can our viewers really be a part of all this? What's in it for them?
I believe that, you know, you may be born here, you may have moved here, but you now are from here, and you always will be. Paducah will be a part of you. You want the city to reflect who you are. I think by being a part of it, the Paducah's culture is very accessible. It doesn't cost to park. The tickets are inexpensive. I
Right.
mean, to see Joy Cut, it was $7. I mean, I know I have tickets out here to the Focus series. They're not expensive. There's the informal coffee shop type atmosphere with the musicians here on stage. There's all types of ways to participate in the culture. And you don't even have to have a structured environment. Try something new yourself. You know, we've had these art fairs. We've had the oils with Christy Bonds having the classes on
Yeah.
how to use healing oils. Those are all creative ways. People thinking just a little different, outside the box.
Yeah, the opportunities are there.
They are.
It's all about taking advantage of it.
They
And
are. And although we may not see it, people are visiting to our Paducah. We are a destination, a cultural destination. We've always known that because we're research-based, that Chicago, St. Louis, and Nashville are our major markets. Quilters, they come from everywhere.
They do.
And it doesn't matter if we're advertising in a preservation magazine. When you get to looking at what people are interested in who inquire, quilting. It's still
there.
the number one. I love that Laura is very active in collecting data, information about our visitors and doing conversion studies.
Yes.
And I was amazed when we did one centered on our quilt advertising that the quilters were telling us about half of them said they went to Land Between the Lakes. Now I know that's the lakes area. They
Right.
say Land Between the Lakes, but they went to the lakes area. Half of them.
Right. They're, you know, when someone visits us, they're not just visiting our community, they're visiting the region. And
The region, for
and
sure.
experiencing so many different aspects of what we have here.
One of the best things that people can do is what we as Southerners do best is be yourself and extend that hand of friendship.
Yes.
I love the story of my mother and her friend Joan meeting some quilters at the quilt show, becoming friends with them, taking them to dinner. Our friends now, and they were from Australia, come every other year. They spend 3 weeks in the States, and they hub and spoke out of Paducah, meaning they stay here and go visit, but they come back to Paducah.
Right.
And they may be gone even for 3 or 4 days, but they come back to Paducah. And I love that. That's just one way. I always know if
Yes.
something is happening in my life, I'm not the only one.
Right. And I think that welcome and
Yes.
helping hand and hospitality really is what encourages them to continue coming back. But of course, the product and the assets
Right.
and attractions we have here are another driver. But as we did that conversion study, we saw 90% of quilters said that they plan to come back.
Come back.
And so we
Yes.
figure that that very small percentage that said they wouldn't were maybe some of the internationals that it's on their bucket list,
Right.
and once they've crossed it off, they won't be able to make the Mecca pilgrimage again. But
And this isn't just quilt show we're talking about. As many people or more come to Paducah throughout the year for quilting and to the Quilt Museum, as do to the quilt show.
That's
The
right.
quilt show is just the big convention,
Right.
festival type event that involves our entire community, but it's a steady stream. Frank Bennett gives us his numbers every month from the Quilt Museum, and it is probably 45 to 48 states,
every
12
month.
countries in any
Yes.
given month. And that doesn't include, you might say, oh, those are the people coming off of the Queen and the river boats. No, these are people driving in here to Paducah. They are visiting. It amazes me, the ones that walk in the door. And if you talk to merchants, talk to Susie Coiner at Barbecue and More, she'll tell you her customers are not from Paducah. I mean,
Right.
yes, we all shop there, but
Right.
the big bulk of her business are visitors.
Right.
If you talk to Ground Floor Shoes, who would think?
Yeah.
But so many people who are shopping here know of the quality and the type of shoes that they're carrying there are good, and they'll shop there. Hancock Fabrics, all the way to the music shop on Kentucky Avenue.
Yes, Alan.
Allen's. I mean, people that you would never guess are doing international business and bringing international visitors to Paducah.
Right. We live in an amazing community, and I
We
think
do.
there's so many things going on that I hope that everyone will connect with us, the Visitors Bureau, Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau, on Facebook, Twitter.
Yes.
We try to keep people up to date on what is going on here. In the latest news, Paducah gets some great publicity, and really some just great events are happening here.
Oh, yes. We're here kind of wrapping up. Just recently, we've been on the cover of a religious group tour magazine, have been in the United Kingdom, talking about Kentucky with quilts, horses, and bourbon. I mean, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Laura, you've met with many travel writers who, in your visit to New York, calling on writers. So we're busy selling Paducah, and we want you to know more about your own community. And we're at paducah.travel on our website. You can sign up for newsletters, sign up for us on social media, or if you're downtown, come see us. We're right across from the gazebo, and you might be excited to even see what's happening in that gazebo. I'm always excited when I walk out and see somebody
Yes.
playing music or doing pottery or stringing beads, whatever it may be. There's always activity in the gazebo. Come downtown, find out more about your own community, your own identity. Claim Paducah, make it your own, and help us sell it and help us restore your creative spirit. Thanks for joining us.
1, 2, 1, 2, go. Hello, ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Hello, ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.